What is going on? It has been the most mental 3 days I've ever experienced in the world of football. For Luke, anyway, because, as you guys know, I'm a Chelsea fan. I have a big, strong interest in Forest. I'm a fan of Forest as well. And these two teams have decided, within the space of 2 to 3 days, to implode. We've sacked the best manager at Forest. We've replaced him with... We'll get into that. And then Chelsea have had 74 charges dropped against them from the FA. Now, what I will say is mental. Because I've just sat and recorded this for half an hour. And yet again, the audio has gone wrong. So I'm doing it again. This is the state that this last 30 minutes has left me in. I'm ready to go again. I've drank most of my Pepsi, so I'm going to fill it up again. I'm sweating, so this jumper is coming off in a minute. But are you guys ready to see? You guys love these. You love the crash outs. You love the AS Clem crash out. AS crash out, Clem R. What? Don't give a shit what you call it. Right. Let me just be real here. Why is the audio doing that? I'm filling up my Pepsi. This can't take longer than half an hour. Because, 1, I've got stuff to do. 2, I want to go to bed. 3, I just like counting to 3. So, bear with, I'm going to take my jumper off and we're going to crack straight into this. I'm getting a good head of hair going. However, I had an awakening. I have realised, so I keep getting called like Kira Shitley and Jack Grealish and whatever, but I realise what vibe I'm giving off. Because I don't give off a Jack Grealish vibe. I haven't got that aura. I don't give off Kira Shitley because I'm not a woman. So what vibe do I give off? No. Ned Flanders. Do you see it? I know. I've ruined it for myself. I've ruined it for everyone. Anyway. Are we ready to go down this journey again, Luke? I think we are, because we've got to, for the sake of the viewers. Please like and subscribe. Nuno, Espirito, Santos, whatever. Thank you for your time at the club. We were fighting relegation in the Premier League after having Steve Cooper promote us and take us as far as he probably could do. And you came in, and I was judgmental. I will apologise for that. I said I don't know what he brings. And a year and a half later, I know exactly what you bring. You bring a clear, direct style of football of incredibly physical, compassionate, highly compact defending with players that are willing to throw themselves at the ball to defend any opportunity. And the minute that opportunity has been defended, some of the most intense, attractive, counter-attacking football I think I've ever witnessed a team. It is reminiscent of a very old school Mourinho system, more attuned to a Zidane system at Real Madrid, of just solid defending turned very, very quick transitional attacking play with a clear intent of getting that ball forward and two people that can score. A goal scoring mindset in a day and age where the managers are focused on creating an opportunity rather than shooting and scoring goals. You have proven that that is still an effective way to play, of just get it forward and try and score. And it was both refreshing to see from a Forest fan's perspective, but very, very fun to see for an underdog perspective. It is a team that has pushed its way into fighting into the top 8. Your likes of your Brightons and your Bournemouths and whoever else, and Crystal Palace are teams of late that have really started to challenge the top 6 for places. So thank you for that. You are also, I'm glad to announce, the best performing Premier League manager for any Forest manager. You're the best performing manager of any Forest manager within the Premier League. Brian Clough, better than. You have a 66% win ratio. Now that, for any manager in the Premier League, unless you are Pep or Klopp, who were fighting for like near on 100% win rate in their season that they won the league. I think they lost one game. I think Man City lost one game and they lost 2, or whatever it was in the 100-point seasons. A 66% win rate is phenomenal. Now let's take it as 38 games. Right, divide by 100 times 66. That gives 25 wins times 3 points. That puts you on 75 points on average. If that's your win rate across a team, that 75 points puts you second last season, 4th the season before, joint 3rd the season before that, and 3rd again the season before that. That is a top 4 performing side based on form and win percentage. Now we know that's not what it's about, because that also covers Carabao Cup games, FA Cup games and things like that. But it is what it is. So, the facts, we know that him and Marinakis had a falling out. Now Marinakis is another one of these, what I like to call an Abramovich style manager. Sorry. Oh, that's not helped, has it? There we go. In which emotion is brought heavily to the table. Reactions are brought to the table, and he is a very reactionary manager. They have a falling out of some kind. Now, Marinakis, this is what I will say. This could be a masterstroke of genius, and you could have done, and again, in a year and a half, or a year's time from now, because it's got to be this season, I hope to have been sitting here and saying, thank God I was wrong. I will never not trust your judgment again. But I firmly believe that you have absolutely shit yourself. I think that you have too much pride to understand anything of why you've potentially fell out with Nuno. I think you needed to recognise that the manager that was sat in front of you when you were sacking him, sorry, itchy ear. I think you need to recognise the manager that was sat in front of you was, on paper, one of the best performing managers around the world, who dragged your team from a relegation scrap into a European night. You didn't give him the satisfaction of letting him play one of those games. in Europe. And that's on you, and that's so disrespectful, and I do not like that, okay? That's what I don't like. Horrendous behaviour from yourself. If you were going to sack him and this was a premeditated move, you should have done it in the summer. Given the people enough time to implement a new system under a new manager. For one. What it seems like you have done is hardball players into staying at the club, which fair enough, if that's what they wanted to do. But a lot of them players will have stayed at the club and not looked for moves away when they quite easily could have done. The likes of Murillo and Milenkovic, Gibbs White, that whole transfer saga was a mess. But you've got the likes of Elliot Anderson, you've got Hudson-Odoi, Chris Wood, Ole Aina could quite have easily looked for moves away. But they have bought into a system and into a manager because they want to win things. And you and the manager will have convinced them to stay. You've waited until after the transfer window has closed and then swept that rug from under their feet. You've just yanked it away from them. I wouldn't be surprised if a few players rebel and try and get a move in January and fuck your club up. What a ridiculous decision to get rid of him. Ridiculous. Now, who can we bring in? We need someone who is used to European nights, used to winning multiple opportunities, has a good league record, and can solidify a sinking ship and not take over something that's been made controversial. Up steps Big Ange. My personal opinion, fraud of the century. Absolute fraud of the century. Let me break it down for you guys. Okay? Let me break it down for you because I'm not getting this mad again like I did earlier. I need to get this up because I had this up earlier. And this will really, really cement a lot of your opinions. Are you ready? Let's look at his league record last year. Are you ready for this? In the league, 11 wins, 22 losses, 5 draws. That is a 30 or below rate. That's pathetic. Absolutely pathetic showing in the league. I understand Tottenham had injuries. That's by the by. Clubs and teams are going to get injuries. You can argue till you're blue in the face. You show up. That from a Tottenham side is disgusting. Disgusting. The dogs are barking because they've heard a doorbell on Becky's phone. Now, what we do know is he wins in his second season. So let's take a look at the Europa League that he won. Because yes, he won a Europa League and that was their saving grace. And I suppose, very stupidly short-sightedly, has Marinakis looked at this and thought, let's get a manager that knows how to win the Europa League in. I'm hoping that's not the reason we've got him, and I hope that there's a clear plan of why we've got Ange Postecoglou in. But it seems like he's gone. He's won the Europa League, so let's get him in. Because what I can tell you, the atmosphere at Tottenham was not good. The engagement from again, Nuno, 3 things, I forgot to say this, I said this in the first one. 3 things. You want a manager that plays attractive football, wins games, and is embedded into the culture of the fans and the club. Nuno was all 3 of them. 1, middle finger. 1, embedded into the fans and the culture. Yes, everybody loved him. 2, is he winning games? Yes. 3, is he winning things? not on paper, not a trophy, but a massive win was getting into Europe for the first time in 40 odd years. That to me is the win. That's what he brought the club. Okay. And you've got Ange Postecoglou, who wasn't winning games, only just won something, and we'll get to that, and was horrifically humiliated by fans that wanted him out and wanted him gone. What are you doing? Anyway, I said I'd get to it. What about this Europa League that they happen to win? Let's look. At the league phase, they finished 4th. That's okay. That's fair. It's a league phase, and a team of Tottenham that have got the likes of Pedro Porro, Heung-min Son, James Maddison, these types of players should be getting top 4 in that league phase when looking at the rest of the teams. Okay? Their opening 3 games, they beat Karabag, Ferencvaros and AZ Alkmaar. Wow. They hit a stumbling block against Galatasaray. They drew with Roma and Rangers. Okay, Roma's a tough team on their day. Rangers you should be beating with Tottenham. And they had a very important victory away against Hoffenheim. They beat Elfsborg 3-0. Is that a difficult run of games? No. Going into the last of 16, they played against AZ Alkmaar again, because they'd qualified for that round. They beat them 3-2. They scraped a win against AZ Alkmaar, who are, by all means, a great side. But you're managing Tottenham in the Europa League, and you've conceded 2 goals in the round of 16. You've scored 3. Odebear grabbed his second towards the closing stages. Basically, it was 2-0 to 2-2, and they won 3-2 just. Okay, AZ Alkmaar out the way. Tough game, Frankfurt in the quarter-final. Quarter-final tie was a professional performance. After falling behind early on, Pedro Porro's equaliser set up a fascinating tie in Germany, and as they did, Dominic Solanke's penalty in the stroke of half-time wrapped up a vital 1-0 win on the road. So it was 1-1 and then 1-0. Fair, right? But yet again conceding goals and only scoring 2. Their semi-final, it's got to be a tough opponent. It's FK Bodo and Glimt. Fair play to them. They've got to a semi-final of the Europa League. Massive props to them. They beat them 5-1. Not only have they had an easy semi-final, they've actually conceded a goal in it. And we'll get onto that in a minute. 5-1. They 5-1. Let's have a look at the final. They played Man United. Had Man United had a good season? No. Again, a notoriously shit season. It was called El Shitico, the Europa League final. It was fucking terrible. Yes, he brought Tottenham a trophy for the first time in 17 years, but you can't tell me that might be one of the easiest runs of a European trophy in existence. Your semi-final came against Bodo Glimt, and your final was against a fucking horrendous Man United team, the worst in history, as far as the Premier League's concerned. The worst points finish, and you've managed to beat them. Well done. Because of that, your own clubs looked at you and fucked you off. You knew you were leaving before the final. Your club's gone, I don't give a shit if you win this, you're shit, mate. Get gone. And Marinakis has decided to hire that. Okay, let's look at Nuno. Compact at the back, fast on the break. What does Ange bring? Fast on the break. Happy days. Is he compact at the back? No. No. He's shit. Defending? What defending? They conceded fucking loads of goals because their whole system is super fluid. There is no transition. It's all just fluidness, which will work for some teams. It will not work for Forest. They have been notoriously successful of recent years for being compact at the back. If Ange decides to adopt this, and this is something he wants to add, fair play. But look at who was successful under Postecoglou at Spurs. You're looking at Pedro Porro and Udogie, wing backs that get forward. Now Ollie Aina, yes, has been good on the transition, as has Nico Williams, but they're not goal scorers. I can see this going horribly wrong. Now, I'll cast your mind back. Again, I'm struggling to remember whether I said this video or last video that I recorded. But cast your mind back to the greatest sort of Champions League nights and teams. I'm thinking more, for myself, Chelsea's Mourinho. Very compact, very good defending, had the least amount of goals conceded in a single season, something that I don't think is going to get broken ever, if not for a very long time. Zidane's Real Madrid, very compact at the back, a very strong midfield, but blistering when going forward with the likes of your Benzemas and your Ronaldos. You think of when Real Madrid players would pick it up at the back, and then teams would step back and then they'd just pile drive at them, right? You think of the Barcelona teams where you had Puyol, Piqué, Busquets, Alba, very, very Dani Alves, incredibly strong defence. And then you had great blistering key passes, Suarez, Messi, Neymar, Iniesta, Xavi, them people playing balls through and going through teams. That is how you win European trophies. That is how you do it, right? Nuno, on paper, okay, we hadn't seen it and we don't get to see it now. On paper, has that style of play. He has what I'd consider the perfect European team or tactic of just being very strong at not conceding too many goals and being very compact and just transitioning forward. Whether the players are of quality enough to beat other teams in that competition is a different question. But on paper, that's how you win. I mean, think about it this way. Think about when Chelsea beat Man City in the Champions League final. All intents and purposes, Chelsea should have lost that game. We won 1-0 against Man City. Why? Because Man City overthought it. The tactics that they use as possession and moving the ball around and transitioning is good for the Premier League, which is why they've been so successful. But on a European night, less so. You look at how Chelsea played. Very strong in defence. Very compact. Making sure that the ball didn't even go near the goal. And then hitting them on the break. Havertz broke. Got round the keeper. Scored the goal. And that was all we needed. Because once you're ahead, there's only so many minutes on a clock. In European games. The league, you can have a bad loss. That's it, spurs you on for the rest of the season. You have a loss in the fucking Europa League or the Champions League, you're out, mate. You're done. You're gone. You don't get another chance at it. Ange doesn't bring that. In my opinion, Ange doesn't come anywhere near that. He had a very lucky run in the Europa League. I'm thinking at this moment in time, the potential for us to be scrapping at the bottom of the table because he can't win games in the league. He's proven that. He's won 11 out of 38 games at Spurs last season. On top of the fact that players now could be looking at it going, I'm done. I signed up for something that was with that manager and a system that we were comfortable in and that we'd got used to in January, I'm going to ask to go. And we could lose some very key players because of it. On top of the fact that we could be out of the Europa League by Christmas. All three of these could be true at the same time. We could be out of the Europa League, losing games in the Premier League. I have more faith that we're going to be in the bottom 6 out of the Europa League and losing a key player in January than being in the top 10, still being in the Europa League and keeping all of our players in January. I think it's more likely that we're going for the former. Anyway, Ange Postecoglou, I think you're a massive fraud, and how you've got this job is ridiculous. Truthfully. Anyway, I haven't got long left. I've got maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Let's speak about Chelsea, because there is things I want to say. First and foremost, in the grand scheme of things, I'm not arsed. Truthfully, the 74 charges brought against Chelsea are fine. It's not a Man City issue. It's not an Everton and Newcastle issue or Forest and points deductible issues. Let me cast your mind back to when Bowley took over the club. They took over and doing their due diligence, they found a few irregularities, signed over the contracts of the club, and immediately said to the FA, through this phase, this is what we found. Can you help us out and advise? And the FA went, whoa, thank you for being so upfront and honest. We'll take a look. We also submitted the same details and documents to UEFA and other footballing bodies around the world. I've got the issue here. In July 2023, so 2 years ago, the Chelsea agreed a resolution with the European footballing governing body, UEFA, to hand over 8.6 mil after owning up to incomplete financial reporting under Abramovich regime. So, again, let me just clarify. The charges that are brought forward are not from anything in the past 3 or 4 years. It goes from 2009 to 2022, which is when Roman Abramovich owned the club, and they primarily relate to events between the 2010-11 to 2015-16 season. So we're talking about stuff that's 10 to 15 years old now, and have been brought about because Chelsea have openly said, we think we found some issues when we bought the club. Can you have a look, please? Again, we did the same with UEFA. They didn't take very long to come back with a conclusion. They looked at it and went, yeah, there are some irregularities that are against our terms and conditions. Thank you for being honest and upfront. Here's a fine. Move on. And we've gone, thank you. Move on. The FA have taken a little bit longer, more than likely because Chelsea being a Premier League team, it needs to be looked at in a lot more detail. They've done a thorough, proper investigation of exactly what happened, how it happened, and how many in relation, how many times did it happen? And according to this, 74 times. They're expecting the Premier League to come to the similar conclusion of, yes, cool, we'll issue you a fine. No one is expecting a points deduction or transfer embargo. It's as simple as that. It's a monetary issue. Like it says here, the rule breaches are for payments to intermediaries and agents and investments in third-party ownership of players. They were self-reported, who have cooperated with the FA on the matter, as we know, because Chelsea are the ones that came forward. And the breaches are related to tax matters, which have been settled with HMRC. So again, no issues on that side of things, and would also not have impacted financial fair play regulation. So would never have been in breach of that anyway. So there's no, if this now affects this, then this actually would have affected that, so even more. There's no knock-on effect. It's, these are the issues. Let's come to a conclusion. It understands the specific transfers in question, which raise potential concerns, include deals for players as Eden Hazard, Etu and Willian. We all knew there was something dodgy with Eden Hazard. That was by the by. But I still don't think his actual opinion of who he wanted to come to changes. He always said he'd prefer Chelsea, and he ended up coming to Chelsea instead of Arsenal. But I think we double paid the agent. I think we said, look, just for an issue, we want to pay you 4 million. You've asked for 4 million. We can't put 4 million on the books, so we'll pay you 2 million. And coincidentally, the company that I also own will pay you £2 million as a goodwill, which is against terms of service. Etu, for me, was a weird one. I still don't quite understand how he really was linked to the club and why he came. It wasn't a successful transfer by any stretch, but again, reeks of a dodgy deal. And Willian, that was a good buy in my opinion. I think whatever you've paid the agent, fair play, pay him again now. He was a good transfer. And Hazard, we've got enough out of him. Anyway, Sky Sports have approached Abramovich's representatives. They haven't come back. The FA statement have said in total 74 charges. I've already done all that. So Chelsea have also responded because they had till the 19th to respond officially. They have obviously come out with a statement that says that they express their gratitude to the FA after self-reporting the alleged charges, and they hope the matter will be concluded as swiftly as possible, which, again, fair play. The club statement said, Chelsea is pleased to confirm that its engagement with the FA concerning the matters that were self-reported is now reaching a conclusion. The club's ownership group completed its purchase of the club on the 30th of May 2022, and during a thorough due diligence process prior to completion of the purchase, the ownership group became aware of potential incomplete financial reporting concerning historical transfers, transactions, and other potential breaches of FA rules. Big sentence. Immediately upon completion of the purchase, the club self-reported these matters to all relevant regulators, so UEFA, so-and-so, including the FA. The club has demonstrated unprecedented transparency during the process, including by giving comprehensive access to the club's files and historical data, and we will continue working collaboratively with the FA to conclude this matter as swiftly as possible. So again, as a fan's perspective, I'm actually quite refreshed to see this. This is probably a really good bit of what I just think this is really well done by Chelsea, in my opinion. I think it's probably the best thing they've ever done is go, look, some issues here. I'd rather not get caught up in a big legal battle. Have at it. You want anything, it's yours. You do what you need to do, and then we'll suffer the consequences. But just understand that we've been completely transparent and really okay with you. Cool. The FA, we wish to place on record our gratitude to the FA for their engagement with the club on the complex case, the focus of which has been on matters that took place over a decade ago. The Premier League chief executive, Richard Masters, said his organisation was investing the historic financial issues. And in July 2023, Chelsea, that's the European thing. UEFA said it had been proactively approached with the information by Chelsea. So again, Chelsea had gone to them and said, look, they've basically gone, thank you for telling us. We would never have found this. So here's a £10 million fine. It could have been a lot worse, but you've come to us, so fair play. The punishment is it's likely to be a fine, and similar to the settlement that was reached with UEFA, it's unlikely there's going to be a points deduction or any other sporting sanction like transfer bans, things like that. Yeah, it's just one of those things, I think, where they've noticed something and been like, look, what do you want us to do? I also think that this could open the door for the Premier League to say, look, we've done this with Chelsea. We're not going to make a massive example out of them, but we fine them this amount. So I think the Premier League, because Chelsea are a Premier League team, not a UEFA, well, they're in UEFA, but they're not a UEFA team. They're a Premier League team. I think the Premier League fine, if it is going to be a fine, which is more than likely the case, it's going to be a bigger fine, a much bigger fine. I think Premier League have a good opportunity right now. It's almost like an amnesty type thing where they say the fine for this is £100 million. But because you've come forward, you've reported yourself, and you've come clean. Yes, it's a new ownership, so you'd sort of expect it anyway. So it's only going to be 30 million or 25 million pounds. To which Chelsea go, that's a massive saving. I can afford 25. I'd have been screwed at 100 million. And then the Premier League go, if anyone else has anything to declare from 10, 20 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, last year, whatever, please fill out the process. We will go and do the same thing. We will send people. We will go through your finances and look for irregularities. Because it might be that there's new accountants in place. There might be whatever, right? In which case, clubs then go, I'd rather let them know and suffer the 25. We can budget that 25 for the end of this year by the time, well, it's taken these guys 3 years. Over the next 3 years, we can put 25 aside as long as we're okay, if we know we're guilty. But what might happen now is that the Premier League launch an investigation into clubs and start going through their finances anyway. I don't want to pay 100 million, I'd rather pay 25. Here you go. And clubs then start submitting themselves to them, which gives the Premier League a very good standing of knowing, if any at all, breaches have happened. How badly, because this is what I will say, Chelsea are the ones that came forward. Best believe every other fucking club has been doing it for decades. We know that for a fact. Like, it's without a doubt. Many, many, many clubs have been doing this. It just so happens that Chelsea were the ones that came forward 3 years ago, 2 years ago. So it might be a good opportunity for other clubs to go, well, there you go, mate. We'll take the 25 on the chin. The Premier League go, gotcha, bitch. We've had you. We've been knowing this has been going on, but we've had no way of getting into your records. Now we have. Just saying. I really hope that becomes a bit of a thing. Anyway, on the grand scheme of things, I'm not too unimpressed. I'm not that fussed with Chelsea. Forest, I'm keeping a very close eye on. I think it could go horribly wrong, but it has spurred me on. Pardon the pun, Ange. It spurred me on to make Forest my FM save this year. It comes out on November the 4th. Don't tell Becky, but I'm taking a week off work to play Football Manager. Not on the 4th, I think it will have to be the week after because people are on holiday at work. But it is what it is. Other than that, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I'm a lot more calm in this video, believe me, I'm a lot more calm in this video than I was the last video, which is annoying because it would have been funny for you guys. But all in all, up the Chelsea, Ange is a fraud. Bye.